Good day, everybody. So today we'll continue with the literature review and searching for literature series. This time we'll talk about searching for literature. This is part of the MQB7001 research method course. Hi, I'm Professor Dr. Victor Ho from the Department of Social and Palliative Medicine, Faculty of Medicine, Universiti Malaya. We look at previously searching for literature is a very tedious work. You need to go to the library, you need to go through this card to actually find the book, and then only you can find it on the shelf. But of course, things have changed, and currently you can actually do it online, like in the World Wide Web, or searching through a scholarly database. The World Wide Web, or the web, is an information system that enables content sharing over the internet. The internet is a global system of interconnected computer network. Web search engine works by storing information about a large number of web pages which they retrieve from the World Wide Web. These pages retrieved by a web crawler, sometimes known as spider or robot. The content of each page are then analyzed to determine how it should be indexed. So these indexed pages are stored on the web search engine servers. So when you query your web pages, they will fetch data from the web server, and then they will return the result from the search engine web server. These are some of the examples of web search engine. Of course, there are many different examples. Some of them are not longer used or are less used in the currently. Databases are a collection of information stored in a computer systematically, such that the computer program can consult it to answer questions. Here are some of the medical databases. Medical databases means that the database used to store medical literature, and they include MEDLINE and PubMed, Embase, Science Direct, and Scopus. So what's the difference between searching the web and scholarly databases? Here we're going to present to you certain differences. First is a content source. The web offers a broad spectrum of content, whereas scholarly databases focus on peer-reviewed journal articles and other publications. In this sense, the credibility of what you found on the web varies depending on the source of information that they have actually was retrieved from. However, in contrast, the scholarly databases have a higher level of credibility since they have undergone the process of peer review. The information organization also is different between the web and scholarly databases. The result from the web is influenced by many factors, including keyword relevance, user behavior, and page link. And for the scholarly databases, they use structured metadata for categorization, making it easier to find specific type of articles. And of course, the search capabilities, the web covers a vast expanse of topic with limited tool for in-depth academic research, and the scholarly databases offer advanced search features with the ability to filter based on requirement of the researcher. And last, we talk about accessibility. The web most are freely accessible, whereas the scholarly databases, some of it are freely accessible, but some of it you need to have subscription to enjoy the full features offered by those databases. Now we go into searching scholarly databases. before you search, you need to understand how you can plan your search process. You need to develop a research question. After you have finished developing a research question, then you can develop your search strategy. To do that, you've got to break down the question, the concept and parts, link the concept into a search strategy, and then only you continue to search the databases or the search engines. When you have received the result, you need to review the number of titles. You can either focus or expand your search. Focus means that you have a more focused, narrow search to have a more in-depth, more specific areas that you look at. But for literature review, we expect you to explode the search so that you can actually have more data coming in for you to be able to have all the information available. A focus search might miss some important information because the indexing is not accurate, or the word that you use to come up with the index is not appropriate. We review the title, an abstract, and then if we find the title and the abstract are what we want, then we can read the full text. It is important that we always read the full text, because we need to ensure that the data presented in the abstract itself are consistent with the data presented in the full text. Sometimes only specific data are presented in the abstract which does not reflect the study itself. So you need to read the full text. In addition, you also need to read the full text to ensure the method that the author have chosen to answer the questions are valid. We'll cover more of this when we talk about searching what the difference between abstract and full text. So how do you develop your research question? What makes a good research question? The question must be relevant to a problem. You must basically start with a problem. You don't start with an instrument or things that you want to do. You start with a problem. If you cannot identify that's a problem, the issue is that when you conduct the research, it would be like, so what? So what means that the findings you use, what are you going to do with it? Because you're not able to answer the problem. So it is important you understand that you must understand what you want to do, and that will basically ensure that you develop a relevant research question. The research question, elements of an answerable question, we have many ways of discussing about this. We have many ways of looking at it. One of the ways is using the acronym PICO, P-I-C-O, which stands for a description of the population of problem, an identified intervention, an explicit comparison, and a relevant outcome. You use PICO most of the time is in intervention studies. Clinical intervention studies, public health intervention study is intervention study. But most of the time in public health, we don't do intervention study. We look at identifying risk factor, identifying associated factors, identifying predictors. Then we go and then we need to relook at PICO and what else can we use. We can then move on to something called PEO by replacing the intervention and the control with exposure. So you got to look at identifying exposure of interest instead of intervention or control. There are people from other parts of the world, especially in the European region, they use DDO instead of PEO or PICO. DDO is domain, determinants and outcome. It is similar to PEO, it's similar to PICO, but it is just using a different terminology. It doesn't matter what terminology you use, but most of it is basically based on three aspects, which is you need to look at who is your domain. Domain can be your population, all right? Domain can be your problem, all right? And what is the exposure or the determinants, all right? And what is the outcome that you're looking for? So it is the three things you're doing. So the determinants or the exposure can be an intervention, which is an exposure, all right? Or determinants, which is an intervention, is also a determinant. So no matter how you look at it, how you do it, what acronym you want to use, it comes back to the same basic thing. Population, exposure, and outcome. After you have a research question that you are thinking of, all right, you have break down the research question into looking at it from the PICO, PO, or DDO perspective. Then you need to come and think of how can I develop a search strategy for my research question. When you think about search strategy, is that you want to develop search strategy so that you can actually do the search, all right? We can do a narrow search, basically as we talked about just now, a narrow search where you look at the problem, identify find whatever you want, and then get the most relevant article and just use that. You can do this when you want to just get quick information on a topic, like let's say you want to look at silicosis, current issue of silicosis. You might just look at one systematic review and then you use that. So these are called narrow search. That means you specifically search for one aspect and you look at for one aspect and you only find one. And this is useful if you just want to be a quick and dirty result. But for literature review, in your research, you need to be clear that it should be a broad search, all right, or wide search. That means you include more articles, and then after getting those articles, you would review them and you would read them, and then only you decide on whether those articles are applicable. All right, let us move on. Move on to breaking your question into concept, breaking them into the PICO, PO, or DDO. Let us look at one example question, a simple question which we use all the time. All right. In children with fever, is oral paracetamol effective in reducing fever as compared to ibuprofen? So we already have the population, we already have the intervention, we already have the comparison, and we already have the outcome in the question itself. So this is a very, very simple and comprehensive question that you can actually answer simply. All right. So of course it's simple. P is population, I is intervention, C is comparison, and O is outcome. So it's children with fever, paracetamol, ibuprofen, and reduction of fever. But we need to also look at alternative to the term, similar word that people use, so that we can include all of those and we can have a more wide, broad search. Like patient can be children or toddler. Fever can be febrile with high or high temperature. Intervention is paracetamol or Panadol or acetaminophen. Comparison is ibuprofen, can be Advil, Morphine, Nuprine, and Brufen. So those are all terms that mean the same thing. Right. So you need to get all the terms that mean the same thing so that you can actually develop your search strategy so that it will be useful for that. All right. So now we're going to link the concept into a search strategy. So we use Boolean or operators link concept within the search. And Boolean is used by all databases. Major operators is and, or, and not. Used in PubMed, used in Ovid. Alright? And you can even supplement the tools by using truncation. That means you shorten your word so that you can actually include the word with same stem with different word later, like different spelling, like English and like American spelling. So and, what is and? And is used to indicate that both terms must be present, alright? And it's a specific in nature. That means and. A and B must be present, is and. Or is used to indicate that any of the term may be present, so it's an inclusive in nature. Or, so it can be A or B. You're not very specific. You're not so relevant. So A or B, all right. And not is to eliminate unwanted concept or words in your search statement. So that's all. Not, sorry, not. So not that, all right. So which means that you only want more specific, and it's not usually it's usually not used. The thing that's usually used is only and or. We will give some example of how to use and or. So bracket is good. Bracket, you nest the synonyms and equivalent concept together. Usually used with or. Useful for free text search also. Alright. So let's say fever or febrile. Because fever and febrile is the same thing. You want to include both, be inclusive, so you use or. Alright. You can use quotation mark in your search strategy. Why use quotation mark? Use quotation mark when you want to search the whole word exactly as the word appear. Alright. Sometimes it's two words. You want to search for two words exactly as it appear as it's written. Because if you search without the quotation, most search engine will search for one and the other word. So they search for two words. Alright. Let us look at it. Alright. So if it's high temperature, if you don't use the quotation mark to focus the high temperature, then what will happen is it would actually search the word high and they search the word temperature as a separate word. So they won't search the word as high temperature. It's necessary for PubMed and general internet search because that is how they perceive things. Alright. Truncation, as I mentioned, or wildcard. Search the word from the same term, stem, but variant ending, like child. We refer to truncation there. You want to see whether you want to search for children or childhood. And PubMed uses the asterisk, whereas Ovid uses the dollar sign to truncate. It depends on the databases. The caveat is that it depends on the databases. So you must understand how the database handle all these different type of methods. Some databases allow internal truncation to cope with variation of spelling. Example, behavior. That means it can be behavior, which is American. If British is behavior, is Britain, in British. So if you just put behavior, then you will miss the people who's written their in British English. And the same thing goes the other way. Then you miss the people who turn in American English. So it's important for you to understand, to use truncation very well, right? So if you don't know what to do, so you can consult help screen to find appropriate symbol or appropriate method based on the different databases and different search engines. Okay, not all words are suitable for truncation, like plan or care. Let us put it all together. So child and fever or febrile or high temperature and ibuprofen or Advil and paracetamol or Panadol or acetaminophen. So if you look at it, if you study it clearly, for the term which means the same thing with different variant, we use the word or because we want to be inclusive. But comparing between the P, I, C, and O, we will use and. Same thing for P, E, and O, we will use and. Same thing for D, D, and O, we will use and. So that is the simple way of looking at it, simple way of thinking about it. All right. But of course, if you want to make more complex kind of search strategy, you can. There are examples of more complex search strategy. All right. So you don't talk about string searches. That means you search for the string, number of search set, or use of combination, useful when you have multiple concept or multiple variant, and useful for long strings which do not fit into the search boxes. All right. Sources of search, bibliography database. This is the medical databases. All right. MEDLINE is a database. You can use PubMed to search MEDLINE. It's a search engine PubMed. You can use Ovid to search MEDLINE, Ovid is a search engine. So you have Embase, you have Science Citation Index, you have Synonyms, you have MED, you have Spot Discuss, and you have PICO, and you have Scopus. So all those are different databases where they index the per journal. So it's index paper. So when you say index paper, that this is indexed in a database, right? So there's many different way of to index it, and one thing is important: it must be an index paper, right? MEDLINE. Let's just look at MEDLINE. MEDLINE stands for MEDLINE is a comprehensive literature database of life science and biomedical information. Focus is only life science and biomedical information. Let's say you're looking at something on management, all right, then you cannot find a MEDLINE because management is not in MEDLINE. Something from human resource, then you cannot find a MEDLINE because sometimes we do research for human resource because we are doing public health research, all right. We're looking at psychosocial safety climate. It's a human resource question. You cannot find a MEDLINE, so you have to go to most probably Scopus. So it covers the field of medicine, nursing, dentistry, veterinary medicine, and healthcare system. It is compiled by the National Center for Biomedical Information (NCBI) of the U.S. National Library of Medicine, and is freely available through the internet on PubMed. So, as I mentioned just now, MEDLINE is a database. PubMed is your search engine. And MEDLINE is also available on other search engines like Ovid. Ovid MEDLINE, as we continue, it includes randomized controlled trials, systematic review, including Cochrane review articles, and more. So in Ovid, you can actually search, beside MEDLINE, much more different kind of databases. So you can search multiple databases using one search engine. Specialized features include subject headings and limits. You can search using subject headings or keywords or combination of both. And of course, you need to have subscription for this, and you have a subscription for Ovid. Now we will look at these databases now: PubMed, Cochrane Library, and Google Search. We will look at more specifically at that. All right. PubMed. Very similar content to Ovid, MEDLINE, but it's free to access, includes some links to free full-text journals. Specialized features include subject heading, clinical queries, filters, and automatically matches your search terms to match and combines with a keyword search. Cochrane Library, group of 7 databases including Cochrane Database of Systematic Review, includes Cochrane Systematic Review summaries and other systematic reviews clinical trials. Google Scholar, keyword searching only, no match term, unclear what contents is included and which journals are covered. Okay, let us look at this example. This example, we will let you spend time reading this. All right. If you look at this, that depending on your research question, depending on what you need to find, the number of databases that you need to search can be 1, but usually 2, but it can be even 10. So if you look at the different databases that was searched here, it is around 10 databases, and this is important because they want to ensure that it covers all their bases. Of course, some of it they will have duplicate like that, which will teach you how to eliminate duplicate when you import your search result into your bibliography software. So question, how many databases do I need? Depending on your research question, the minimum you need is 2 if you want to be extensive. And I would recommend that you use at least PubMed because you want to search medical databases, and Scopus. Scopus is important database to search because Scopus index all or most of the journals, most of the journals in this region are indexed under Scopus. So if you want to look for regional data in the Southeast Asia region or regional data out of English speaking country, you need to look for Scopus. But if you're just looking for medical databases, then PubMed should be enough. So for a good search, you must have at least 2 databases, and the 2 databases that we can recommend is MEDLINE and Scopus, because most of the what we call journal index in ISI are also indexed in Scopus. Is Google web search adequate? No, as we discussed just now, Google web search is difficult for us to actually develop a good search strategy because we don't know how they index the searches. So when you use Google Scholar, it's also the issue of difficult for you to extract the data, difficult for you to go back and save the search strategy. It's important that when you are doing research, alright, once you develop a good search strategy, you want to save it and you want to use it back later so that you can look for new articles, and that will allow you to continue to update your information until you complete your thesis. So all information, all searches must be updated periodically to ensure that they are current. So how do I summarize and present the search result? Well, you can present it as a summary of how many articles you have found. You can present it as summary tables of research. All those we would teach you in more detail if you would like to learn later. But these are the things that you need to think of. Thank you. Now.